First things first, man. The one of the main things I wanted to hop into first is Meek Mill's confrontation with Akademiks on an app called Clubhouse. Now, I've been hearing about this app called Clubhouse. From what I understand, it's like an audio only thing and it's invite only. But there's still so much I don't know. But it sounds interesting. And a lot of the big tech heads and shareholders are like looking at Clubhouse as like a future for social media, which is interesting, right? Because for so long, especially this last decade, everything's been text-based. And so for them to like buy into the fact that, you know, people might want to start talking again, like the old days where you actually pick up a phone and talk to people. But it's less about Clubhouse, what we're talking about today, and more about what happened on that app. And some of the biggest stars in the world was in on this particular call, on this particular session. We're talking Meek Mill, we're talking Akademiks, we're talking 21 Savage, and we're talking TORY LANEZ. And there was like this one guy in there, I couldn't recognize his voice, and nobody in the comments of the video I saw could point out who it was. But I'm going to assume that it was one of Meek Mill's close friends, because it sounded like he was cheerleading a little bit and kind of destabilizing the conversation. So with that being said, I guess I want to fill you guys in on Akademiks and Meek Mill's history. To put it simply, Meek Mill has never liked Akademiks. He looks at Akademiks as a cancer to our culture. He looks at Akademiks' platform as an enemy. It's interesting because they've shared this animosity towards each other for years. Akademiks suggests that it may be back in 2015 when Drake soundly beat Meek Mill in their back and forth. Of course, Meek Mill didn't like what Akademiks had to say about that. But Meek Mill says it's deeper than that. Meek Mill says Akademiks is not only a cancer to the culture, but the reason he's a cancer, first and foremost, is that he's gotten people killed. He doesn't like the fact that Akademiks instigates beef. Maybe he looks at Akademiks like he looks at the magazines and the media back in the 90s when the media played a big role in the East Coast versus West Coast beef. So like beyond Tupac and Biggie, a lot of the media was like, oh, East Coast versus West Coast. And so their entourages got into it. And there was lives lost due to that, two goats, right? So Meek Mill, I think, looks at Akademiks as nothing good, maybe even on the same tier as DJ Vlad. However, interestingly enough, I could be wrong, guys, but I don't ever remember Meek Mill going at Vlad. He's never been on Vlad TV, but I don't remember him sending shots towards Vlad. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't like him, but I just can't recall. And I'm actually curious as to why, because Vlad's gotten. I feel like there's some legitimate reasons to criticize Vlad as somebody that might be a cancer, a real cancer to the culture. But with that being said, I'm gonna basically read you guys the article from hotnewhiphop.com, and it says Akademiks joins Clubhouse, Meek Mill confronts him. 21 Savage emerges as the voice of reason after a tense exchange between Akademiks and Meek Mill on Clubhouse. Akademiks is without a doubt one of the most polarizing figures in hip hop. Plenty of rappers and people in general have their reasons to be wary of him, but he's also proven to be a rather trusted voice for hip-hop related news. However, he's managed to sustain a prominent profile within the rap game without really having to leave his house much. Of course, his appearance on Everyday Struggle only furthered it, but his commentary and content have ruffled a few feathers, to say the least. Last night, Akademiks made his debut on Clubhouse, which was nothing short of a shit show. On the platform, he was joined by the likes of Meek Mill, 21 Savage, and his manager, Guap Dad 4000, and TORY LANEZ. Okay, so Guap Dad 4000 is the guy I was referring to, but who all had things to say about Ak. Meek specifically had a few things to get off his chest since the last time they had their little exchange on the internet. A clip surfaced this morning where Akademiks accused Meek of trying to lie on him, seemingly over Meek versus Drake in 2015. And so a quote from Meek Mill, Akademiks, if we was in a room and you was talking to me like that, like you screaming like that, that would not take place. If you stir up beef and somebody die, you are part of that. That's a conspiracy to that beef. Oh my God. Conspiracy to murder? Conspiracy to murder?
Definitely sounds a little exaggerated.
I agree with that. And Akademiks has a huge platform, but at the end of the day, he's a journalist. But maybe like when a company, like maybe CNN, Complex reports news, maybe like people look at it as like just a corporate, like a company, like there is faceless unless you look at the author of the article's name. A lot of times it's a faceless thing, so it's harder to maybe direct energy towards that journalist, whereas Akademiks, he's very much the face of his own platform, and he's the reporter, he's the owner, he's everything. So it might be easier to direct heat towards him. But anyway, Akademiks later pushed back against Meek, claiming that he's lying on his name, while 21 Savage's manager Meezy tried to maintain some sort of civility within the chat room. But still, Meek was tied up with Akademiks' promotion of a Philly artist, suggesting that the media personality only highlights talent from the city when he's feuding with him. Needless to say, Guapdad 4000 and Meek weren't entirely pleased with Akademiks, and while Akademiks was ready to list off all of his regrets, 21 Savage thankfully prevented him from doing that and provided some level-headed words of wisdom, reason, and growth. Now, I'll say this, bro, like, surprisingly, 21 Savage was the mediator in that. And I never knew 21 Savage respected Akademiks on a level to where he would be a mediator in a situation between Akademiks and one of the biggest rappers in the world. But he was. Like, when Meek Mill was going off on Akademiks, Swain was like, come on, bro, let him speak. Let him speak. Some might say that, oh, well, 21 Savage was defending Akademiks, or he was on Akademiks' side, but that's not what I heard in that hour-long clip. 21 Savage would when Meek Mill made a point that 21 agreed with, 21 would be like, all right, Ak, you got to admit, he's right about this. He's right about that. But I was just surprised at just his calm-headed mentality in that whole thing, because it was a shit show.
But DJ Akademiks, he gave 21 Savage his props on Twitter too for being one of the realest, in hip hop, because he could call out your bullshit, but also he could just be real with you, and just even if it's positive or negative, he could just be real with you.
Yeah. And 21 said, at the end of the day, bro, all this internet shit is new to all of us, so we are all just learning as we go. We ain't never been in these times where it's so cool to care and it's so cool to beef. Shit ain't never been like this. Whether we want to admit it or not, we all play some part in the way shit is nowadays, because we are all people that profit off of that. You got to start showing that you don't give a fuck and that you want to change too. Savage explained that at the end of the day, he could be heartless and not care about the platform he has and the responsibility that it comes with. He said, I have a heart, bro. And at the end of the day, I know you got a heart because I know you. So I know you don't go to sleep at night and just be like, fuck it. So with that being said, just display that, bro. Let's try to do shit better. Yeah, man. It's I understand that take. I agree with 21 Savage. But despite 21 Savage's rationalization, Twitter was still in tears over the fact that this entire debacle was Akademiks' welcome party to Clubhouse. I guess that is a hell of a debut, huh? To have Meek Mill.
Yeah. Well, I think this was still a productive conversation, even though they're kind of going at each other. But I think at the end of the conversation that they had on Clubhouse, I think it was more of a positive outcome, because I think and 21 Savage being there definitely helped calm things down. And I think Meek Mill kind of, he probably was mad at first, and after a while, after they talked it out, I think kind of understood where DJ Akademiks came from, and I think 21 Savage definitely helped with that situation.
Yeah. And in terms of Tory Lanez's role, he felt that Tory Lanez hopped in the call and felt like Akademiks could have sent him to jail with how he was reporting. And Akademiks did bring up the allegations that he leaked information. Like I guess the allegations was that he leaked the information to Megan Thee Stallion. So their fallout isn't about Megan lying. It's about Megan receiving information about whether Tory was sneaking around, what Tory was sneaking around doing. But at the end of the day, it was like a 5-minute confrontation, and they had an understanding at the end of the day. And so, that's pretty positive. One thing I'll say, though, is one thing I like is that somebody like Akademiks can coexist with some huge stars that hate his guts. Like, they can't do nothing about it. And one thing that I felt like was kind of uncalled for was when Meek Mill said, bro, I got your address. Somebody gave me your address. If I wanted to, I could have you blah, 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 blah. That's kind of weak to me, Monty. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's like a threat. It's like a halfway threat. Like, I got your address, and if I wanted to, I could have did that, but I didn't do that. But it's still an implication, like, I can still do that because that's still your address. I thought that was kind of weak.
That's not cool, man. That's like death threat level.
Yep.
It's like you got to chill out with that.
Hell yeah. And there was like two schools of thought that Meek Mill had. One was like, you're a threat, and I got to make people know, like, that you're not a credible source or whatever, and that you're the cause behind a lot of deaths. And so in that breath, it seems like Meek Mill realizes how big a platform Akademiks has. But in another breath, he said Akademiks' platform is just a little platform. And Meek Mill said he was a big dog. It's beneath him. It's just too small. But then Academics turned around and said, okay, well, this small platform that I got has your label hitting me up to promote your artist. And I ain't gonna lie, man, that was a mic drop moment, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
it's a mic drop moment. Like, damn.
That
Like,
kind of made me, stumble a little bit. He was kind of looking for, when you're arguing with somebody and they have something, of a good point, and you're like, but
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, man.
definitely that moment.
It's a shitty situation to be in. Yeah, ultimately it was a fun, entertaining shit show to listen to, and I got to see how level-headed 21 Savage can be, and I'm glad it wasn't a situation where they all jumped on him and shit like that. All in all, a good thing. I'm just glad that, again, you can't blackball people like Academics because he has an opinion that goes against the grain, or an opinion that's critical of some of the biggest stars. Because back in the early 2000s, or even late 2000s, if you said the wrong thing, bro, it was quite easy to like blackball you. Like, suddenly your money isn't the same. Suddenly people don't want to come on your platform to talk to you. It got dark. But Academics has always said, I don't need any of you guys. All I need is my fans, aka chat niggas, because he streams on Twitch, and he calls his fan base chat niggas. And they support the hell out of him, bro. And he's a millionaire. He's a freaking millionaire. And according to him, in 2017, 2018, he was making over 100,000 a month, which is more than a lot of the rappers that hate his guts. To be
Yeah,
real.
people underestimate how big of a, not even, obviously Meek Mill has a bigger fan base,
Yeah,
more broader appeal. But
yeah,
DJ Academics, like, these streamers are people who talk about, because they go live like probably so many hours in a week, and they have hardcore fans, and they'll be down to do a lot of shit that, probably a lot of Meek Mill supporters would not be down to do. So he definitely has a lot of ride or die fans.
hell yeah. And I ain't gonna lie, Academics also often releases information. Academics, bro, got the interview of the year with King Von right before King Von died. So, like, there's an hour-long piece of media you can watch where Academics was telling King Von, like, I don't know, they just had a really in-depth conversation. It was a real raw, authentic conversation. King Von was on O Block, and I really enjoyed that. And I got to learn some things about King Von that I probably wouldn't have had that interview not gone down. And, rest in peace to King Von. Academics also often exposes like the underhanded things labels and artists do to get ahead. How a lot of these playlists that people listen to are bought. It's not a merit based thing.
Oh
It's still
yeah.
a financial. Yeah.
A
So
lot of Spotify playlists like Rap Caviar, I think, or similar ones. These labels definitely got a hand with them. So if they have a big song that they want to promote, they definitely, definitely hit up the playlist to add their music on there, because you are not gonna really see any underground, or artists who are not under a label being promoted on these big playlists. It's very hard to do.
yeah, it is, man. And that's why a lot of artists have to, resort to creative marketing schemes, which there's an artist, we're gonna get into it later, but I think there's an artist that did something that's pretty interesting in terms of getting people's eyeballs on them.